I want you to picture somebody right now, somebody who's done you wrong or said something they had no business of saying, or maybe they just flat out hurt you and they never apologize for it. Got them in your head? Okay. So now here's what I want you to notice. Now, you didn't have to go dig up that name from one of your irrelevant files in your brain, did you? Nope. It was right there, right up front, sitting on the front porch of your mind, rocking in a chair, waiting on you. That's not an accident, y'all. See, we like to think anger is loud. We think of it as yelling or slamming doors, cussing somebody out, throwing things across the room. And yes, sometimes it is. But most of the time, anger doesn't even make a sound at all. It just sits there. It's stewing in your mind while you're folding laundry. It's right there front and center while you're driving to work. You're replaying the conversation over and over again. And you're thinking to yourself, I should have said this. I should have said that. It sits there at church, two pews back from the very person you can't stand. You smile at them and wave and you say, good morning. But inside, you are literally just building a case so airtight against them that honestly, a courtroom would be jealous. We don't even call that anger half the time. We call it just being honest. We call it, I am not wrong to feel this way. Or we say, I'm not going to pretend everything is fine. And listen, you're not crazy for feeling it. Hurt is real. What people do to you is real. But this is where the part that gets a little uncomfortable. Jesus is about to stand up in front of a whole crowd of people who think they've got their lives together. Good people, church people. They pay their taxes, they mind their business, and they have never so much as raised a hand against another soul their whole life. But he's fixing to tell them that they're not as innocent as they think. Not because of anything they've physically done, but of what they've been holding on to. Because of who they've quietly pushed aside in their hearts and never told a soul about, not even themselves. This is the part of the Sermon on the Mount where Jesus stops talking about actions and starts talking about the heart behind the actions. And y'all, it's going to get real personal real quick because he's not just talking to those people. He's talking to church people, the good people, the people sitting two rows back smiling at somebody they've already convicted in their head. He's talking to us. So if you've got somebody's name sitting up front and center on the front porch of your mind right now, don't file it back again. Keep it close because you're going to need it in a minute. Hey, y'all. If this is your first time hanging out with us, welcome. I am glad you're here. This is Unscripted Conversations, and we really do just sit around and talk like we've been friends for years and years. Even if today's the day we met, family, faith, real life, whatever is really going on, that's what we do here. And if you've been hanging out with us for a while, hanging in there week after week, hey, you know the drill by now. New pods drop every Wednesday at 4, same as always. Y'all, we are deep in this Sermon on the Mount series, and I mean deep. We have been creeping our way through Matthew verse by verse, not skipping a single line because Jesus didn't waste words. And I don't think we should just roll right past them either. I mean, we know a lot of this. So when we read it, we just kind of read it and keep on trucking. But we've been breaking it down and really relating it to real life. The last couple of episodes, we have been talking about Jesus telling the crowd he didn't come to make following God easier. He came to show us what it was supposed to look like the whole time. He told them he didn't come to lower the bar. He came to raise it higher, deeper, down to the root of things where nobody can really see but him. And today we're picking right back up where we left off. Remember that name I had you thinking about a minute ago? Well, keep on holding to it because we're fixing to need it. But you know the deal. Let's pray before we get into this one. Lord, this is not going to be a comfortable episode, and I think you planned it that way. So before we go any further, I'm asking you to do the thing we cannot do for ourselves. Show us our own hearts, our real hearts, not the heart we show to other people, the real heart we have inside of us. If there's a name sitting right on the tip of our tongue right now, you already know it. You knew it before we did. So give us the courage not to look away from it today. Help us to hear this the way you mean it, not as a guilt trip or one more thing to feel bad about, but as you loving us enough to tell us the truth, even when the truth might cost us something or hurt our feelings a little bit. We love you, God. We trust you with every bit of this. In Jesus' mighty name, amen. Okay, that name, you still holding on to it? Good. We're almost there. First, let's read what Jesus actually said, Matthew 5, verses 21 and 22. First, the NLT. You have heard that the law of Moses says, do not murder. But I say, if you are even angry with someone, you are subject to judgment. If you call someone an idiot, you are in danger of being brought before the court. And if you curse someone, you are in danger of the fires of hell. Oh, wow. Yeek. Okay. Now, the message version, because it's a little bit of a gut punch in a different way. You'll see. Listen. So it says, you're familiar with the command to the ancients do not murder. I'm telling you that anyone who is so much as angry with a brother or sister is guilty of murder. Carelessly call a brother an idiot, and you just might find yourself hauled into court. Thoughtlessly yell stupid at a sister, and you are perilously close to hellfire. Great day in the morning. Did y'all see that? Seriously, open your Bible to Matthew 5 verses 21 and 22. Highlight that. Let me give you a little bit of a background. So back then, the religious crowd had this whole thing figured out, simple as a checklist, so to say. Y'all know I like lists and checking it off. Don't kill anybody and you're good. That's the line in the sand. Cross that one line and you're in trouble. You stay on this side of that line, you get to walk around feeling pretty proud of yourself. Y'all, and get this. Yes, I had to Google it because it blows my mind. Currently, all these years later, nobody can even tell you how many laws we have on the books in this country right now. I mean, for real. The Library of Congress has flat out said it's not countable. The last time anybody seriously tried to count just the federal criminal ones back in the 80s, they landed on around 5,000. And y'all, that's not even touching the hundreds of thousands of regulations that can still get you in trouble or any of the 50 states' laws on top of that. We have built this entire mess of a legal system and we still can't even agree on how big it is. And so much of it traces right back to those original 10 commandments. Don't kill anybody. Don't take what's not yours. Don't lie under oath. We've been turning God's handful of rules into mountains and mountains of paperwork and books for thousands of years. We are really good at making rules out of it. We still do the checklist thing too, by the way. We've got, I guess you can say, a modern version of it. At least I've never cheated. At least I never said it to their face. At least I just unfollowed them instead of going off in the comments. We all have our little at least I never list, and we feel really good about it. But Jesus literally walks up and kicks that whole list to the curb. He's not saying murder is not a big deal. He's saying everybody's been measuring the wrong thing. So when we're busy checking whether we cross that line in the sand, nobody's asking where that line actually came from. And where does that line come from? Contempt. That's it. Somewhere down, deep down inside of you, you've decided this person matters less than you do, less than you, less than your time, less than your patience. That's the route Jesus is pointing out. The actual violence, that's just the last stop on a road that started way back at contempt. Most people never get all the way to the end of the road. But Jesus is saying you don't have to get to the end of the road to already be on it. Now, don't go feeling weird about every time you've ever been mad. Jesus got angry. He walked in the temple and flipped the tables over, mad because of what they were doing and what they were trying to sell and how they were doing it. Being ticked off isn't automatically a sin issue. What he's talking about is the anger that you keep, the kind that you let simmer and stay on your brain for weeks and weeks because you're just, this is going to be quotations, just being honest about how you feel. I mean, you have been carrying a grudge for so long, you don't even know why it started in the first place. The one you decided you're allowed to keep because, look what they did. That's the kind that stops seeing a person and starts seeing a problem you have to deal with. And it's not normally loud, it's quiet. It's the text message you saw and you didn't answer on purpose. It's the screenshotting the text to send to somebody else with no caption, just three dots. I speak iPhone. I don't know if you understand. It's the family group chat where everybody knows exactly who the message is really about, even though nobody's putting a name to it. It's smiling at somebody at a kid's ball game and then going straight to the car to tell your spouse or your friend what you really think about them. We don't call any of that anger. We just call it I'm done with you. I'm done with that person. We call it boundaries. And sometimes it actually is a boundary, but sometimes it's just contempt that we're given a different name. Y'all, I'm going to be completely honest with you. If you know me, I am the loud, say what I think one in my marriage. I don't really have a filter between my brain and my mouth. Go figure. Now, Sam, he's the complete opposite. He's cool, calm, collective. He thinks before he even opens his mouth, which is probably why he's so good at his job. Now, me, on the other hand, if you ask me my opinion, I'm going to give it to you. Sam tells me all the time I need a tattoo on my forehead that says, "Don't ask my opinion." But the biggest difference is I'm not mean about it. I'm honest. There is a huge difference. If you ask me how that dress looks and it doesn't look good, I'm not going to stand there and tell you it's all sunshine and rainbows. I'm going to tell you the truth, just in a tactful manner, generally. Now, unless you're my best friend. If you're my best friend, then you're getting straight facts. No, I'm not Willy Wonka. I don't sugarcoat it. Okay. I'm going to tell you exactly what I think. But if you're just some other random person and you're not my best friend, but you're a good friend or acquaintance or something like that, I'm going to try to be very tactful in my delivery. And I bring that up because that's not what Jesus is talking about at all here. Being honest, even when it's not what somebody wants to hear, that's not contempt at all. That's just telling the truth out of love for somebody. You want what's best for them. Contempt is completely different. Contempt isn't, I love you enough to tell you the truth. Contempt is, you don't matter enough for me to even bother with you anymore. One of those comes from caring, and the other one is the opposite of caring. You're just trying to be fake and keep it real. Most of us are good, decent, law abiding people. We pay our bills, we love our families, we hold the door open for strangers. But how many of us have looked at somebody, that name that you have, somebody who's hurt us or somebody we used to be close to, and just kind of quietly decided in our hearts that they don't count anymore? Not worth forgiving or being kind to, not worth even remembering that they're made in the image of God as well as us. That's the door Jesus is talking about. It doesn't open with a weapon, it opens with you just deciding somebody's not really a person to you anymore. They don't matter. So this one's not a those people verse. It's not even a back then verse. It's a right now, scrolling on your phone, sitting in traffic kind of verse, mine included. So we just spent all that time on the heart part. We had a name, all the things. Now, Jesus does something kind of wild. He's going to give us what to do about it. Okay, you've had this situation, here's how you handle it. Now, Matthew 5 verses 23 and 24 NLT. So if you are presenting a sacrifice at the altar and you suddenly remember that someone has a grievance against you, leave your sacrifice there at the altar. Go and be reconciled to that person. Then come and offer your sacrifices to God. Now, the message says it like this: if you enter your place of worship and about to make an offering, you suddenly remember a grudge a friend has against you. Abandon your offering, leave immediately, go to this friend and make things right. Then and only then come back and work things out with God. Okay, okay. Picture this for a second. You walked all the way to the temple, you brought your offering, you stood in line, waited your turn, you were right there about to hand it over. And Jesus says, if you remember right there, mid offering, that somebody has a problem with you, stop, put it down, walk back through the crowd, go fix that problem, and then come back. Could you imagine doing that today? Like, picture being at church, you're up on the altar and just walking out mid service because you remembered you owe your cousin an apology. People would talk about you for years. But that's exactly what Jesus is saying to do. Why? Because he's telling us something about what worship actually is. We like to think about it as two separate lanes. There's me and God over here, and there's me and other people over there. Jesus says, no, 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 no. It's not a parallel thing. Those lines merge. You can't be right with God while you're refusing to be right with somebody else. The offering doesn't cover for it. It's not a trade. God is not sitting there going, well, she did show up and give her 10%, so I guess we'll let the grudge slide. Uh, no. And notice what he doesn't say. He doesn't say if it's your fault. He says if somebody has a grievance against you, period. It doesn't matter who started it. This is not kindergarten. It doesn't matter who's in the wrong by your side of the story. If there's a breach of trust, you're the one who goes. If there's an issue, you are the bigger person. You go. You call them. You knock on their door. You apologize. You work it out. Not because you're the guilty party, but because you're the one who knows about it and can do something about it. I am not going to lie. That is a very hard pill. Most of us are out here waiting on the other person to make the first move. Well, I'll forgive them when they apologize. I'm not reaching out first. They know what they did. Jesus skips past all of that and says, you go. You go. And I'm going to be the first one to sit here and tell you that that is not easy. That is easier said than done. I always tell y'all when I'm talking to y'all, I'm talking to myself because I need to listen to this 100%. Literally, what I'm dealing with right now at work. I have to be the bigger person. I have to be the one that says, you know what? I'm not in the wrong. I was following the rules and I was doing the things the way I taught, but I am the bigger Christian and I am going to settle this. I am going to start this conversation. I am going to settle this. And then he changes the whole picture again in verses 25 and 26. It says, when you are on the way to court with your adversary, settle your differences quickly. Otherwise, your accuser may hand you over to the judge, who will hand you over to an officer, and you will be thrown into prison. I tell you the truth, you won't be free again until you have paid the last penny. Okay, so now he's talking about somebody already headed to the courthouse, already in a real legal mess. And his advice is handle it now before it gets out of your hands. Because once a judge is involved, you don't control the outcome anymore. What could have been a 5-minute conversation just turned into something with consequences: time served, community service, court fines, fees. I think he's making the same point from two different directions, whether it's at the altar or on the way to court. A relationship problem you put off doesn't still sit and wait on you, it keeps moving, it picks up weight. The thing that would have been simple to fix today turns into the thing you haven't spoken to that person about in 6 years. Now, neither of you even remember how it even started. You just know you don't talk anymore. I think we call that making a mountain out of a molehill. So, that text you've been meaning to send, that phone call you keep putting off because you don't know what you'll say, that person you see at the store and you both pretend real hard to be busy looking at something else or ducking down another row. Ask me how I know. Yee. Jesus is saying, go now, go quick, while it's still small enough to actually fix. Okay, so now I'm going to slow down a bit. And I think a lot of y'all are sitting there right now thinking, okay, Ashley, that's nice. Go make it right. But what does that actually look like? And what if I go and they don't want it? Was that on your mind? Fair question. Let's talk about it. First, going does not mean you walk in and grovel like you've done something wrong if you didn't. Reconciliation isn't the same thing as taking blame that's not yours. You can go to somebody and say, hey, let's talk about the elephant in the room. I know things have been off between us. I don't want that anymore. I want to make this right. And you can say that without confessing to a crime that you didn't even commit. Jesus isn't asking you to lie about who did what. He's asking you to care more about the relationship than about, I guess you could say, winning the argument over whose fault it was. Second, this is the part that nobody likes to hear. Going and speaking with this person doesn't guarantee that they'll be even open to talking about it or open to working things out. I mean, you can do everything right, and the other person can still slam the door in your face. They can still be cold or not ready or don't believe you mean it or not even want it. And that's not on you. Paul actually deals with this exact tension in Romans, where he says, live at peace with everybody as far as it depends on you. Not as far as it depends on them making it easy, as far as it depends on you. You go, you extend it. What they do with it after that, y'all, that's between them and God. You took the first step. You attempted a conversation. You text them. You called them. You went to them and said, hey, I want to fix this. If they don't want to, you did what was right. Now, They have to deal with God and the consequences. And that's important. I know some of y'all are carrying around guilt for relationships that didn't even heal, even though you've tried. That's not a failure on your part. Jesus doesn't say, go fix it. He says, go. The fixing isn't always in your hands, but the going is. Now, the third thing, reconciliation doesn't always mean things go back to how they were before. Sometimes making peace with somebody means you're letting go of that bitterness, you're forgiving them in your heart, and still keeping a healthy distance, especially if it's a person who's shown you that they'll keep hurting you the same way over and over again. Remember what we talked about a long time ago? Forgive them, love them from a distance. Forgiveness is not the same thing as putting yourself back in the position to get hurt again. You can release the contempt. Stop wishing them harm. Stop building that case against them in your head without inviting somebody back into your front row seat if they haven't shown any change. So, this isn't about being a doormat. It's about clearing the contempt out of your own heart, whether or not the relationship ever looks the same again. I can tell you, I had issues with somebody. It was not my fault, but I had issues with somebody. They did some ugly things. But you know what? I went to him and I was like, I'm tired of the animosity in the room. I'm tired of this. We go to this place where we are going to be seen, we're going to be together in the same room on a regular basis. We need to fix this. Did we go back to being great friends like we did before? No. I speak, she speaks, she goes about her business, I go about mine. And the last thing I want to say on this before we move on, a lot of the relationships we're avoiding fixing aren't even big dramatic blow ups. Most of the time, it's small. It's the silence that built up over months and months because somebody didn't want to be the first one to bring it up. It's the family member you used to be close to, and now you just kind of aren't. And neither one of you could even tell you what exactly happened or why. Jesus isn't only talking about the huge betrayals, he's talking about the slow drift aparts too. The kind where contempt didn't show up all at once. It just kind of crept in a little bit at a time until one day you realize you'd quietly written somebody off with ever even realizing it. So if there's somebody like that for you, not even a big dramatic story, just somebody who kind of drifted out of your life, that counts too. That's still the door Jesus is talking about. And going first still applies. We started today with you thinking about somebody, a name, maybe somebody who hurt you bad, maybe somebody who you just drifted from slowly. And you couldn't even tell what day it happened, how it happened. Either way, you knew exactly who it was the second I asked. And what Jesus showed us today is that the commandment most of us thought we already passed, don't murder anybody, actually starts way before any of that. It starts the moment we decide somebody doesn't matter enough to forgive, or they don't matter enough to text first, or they don't matter enough to be honest with the right way out of love instead of contempt. Then he gave us the move. Don't wait on them or the right mood, the right time, the perfect apology, or even the guarantee that it'll go well. Go now. Go first. And however they react to it, that part is not on you. You are responsible for opening that door. So here's what I want you to actually do this week. Not just feel something about it for the next 5 minutes and move on. I want you to do something. Is there somebody you've been meaning to reach out to? Somebody you let go cold because going first was going to feel like too much? Pick one, just one, and do something about it before this week's out. It doesn't have to be a huge production, just a text or a call. Hey, I've missed you. Just go. Lord, you already know exactly who we've been thinking about this whole episode. You knew before we even said it out loud. You've probably been slightly nudging us about it a lot longer than today. We just didn't want to see it. So we're asking, give us the courage to go first. Not because they deserve it, but because you went first for us over and over, way more than we ever deserved at all. Soften whatever's gone in our hearts toward that person. Give us the words, even if we don't have them yet. And Lord, don't let this be something we just feel for a minute and forget about by Friday. Help us to actually do something about it this week. We love you. We trust you will be right by our side. In Jesus' mighty name, amen. All right, y'all. That is today's episode. If somebody's name came to mind while you were listening to this, I bet money somebody did. Don't let that be a wasted moment. It wasn't an accident. Do something with it this week. And hey, if this episode is the kind that needs to simmer with you a little bit longer than just today, I have made y'all something for it. Head over to Simply Bust Designs and grab this week's free printable. I'll walk you through exactly what we talked about today so you've got something in your hands, not just something in your head. It's free, it's waiting on you, and honestly, it might be the nudge you need to actually follow through instead of just nodding along in your car as you're listening. And if this podcast has been reaching you lately, if you've been showing up every Wednesday and it's been doing something deep inside of you, head over to ko-fi.com/simplybustdesigns. It's generally what keeps this whole thing going, and every single cup means so much more than you know. Share it with a friend. Maybe they have a grudge. I can almost guarantee everybody is holding something against somebody. There is somebody in everybody's past. All right. That's it for me. So go take care of that name up front and center in your brain, and I will see y'all next Wednesday. Thanks, y'all.